And joining us on this historic victory is the one and only Sunil Gavaskar. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Gavaskar. First of all, you are a soothsayer. I remember a week ago you told me India will breach fortress Gabba. That's exactly what they did. Not only have they breached it, they broke it down.
It did, isn't it? It's been an absolutely wonderful, wonderful performance. You know, I'm over the moon and I'm still in orbit. It's that kind of a feeling. It's been unbelievable performance. I'm so happy. I'm so proud of this team for the way they have played, for the way they have rallied around after being dismissed for 36, for the way they have recovered, the resilience that they have shown. All in all, it's been a stupendous, absolutely stupendous performance by this Indian team.
Put it in some context for us, in some historical context. You know, 50 years ago, we won our first series, your debut series in West Indies and England. And today we've conquered Australia for a second consecutive time. Put this victory in some kind of context. Would I be right in saying this is the greatest ever overseas test series win?
Yeah, I mean, it is one of India's, greatest test wins. It's been a win which has been amazing because not a lot of people gave this team any chance after having been dismissed in 36 in the first test. So, to have won the Melbourne test after that and then to have drawn the Sydney test with odds stacked against them and then to win this, batting fourth. It's not that they batted first. They batted fourth on a wicket which was playing up and down on day 4 itself. And then this victory must be amongst the very, very best that Indian cricket has seen.
There are a number of heroes to this test victory. And let's go one by one. The man of the match, Rishabh Pant. I mean, this is a cricketer with some kind of an X factor, 23. And has already scored over 1,000 runs as a wicket-keeper batsman. Something very special about the way he goes about his game. Fearless.
Yes. Yeah, he's got enormous confidence. He's got self-belief. He knows that he can do things which others can't. And that's the reason why, as you said, he's an X-factor. Because nobody knows what's going to happen with the X-factor. An X-factor is the kind of player who will one day take you to great heights like Rishabh Pant took us today, or there could be another day when he'll disappoint you very, very badly. But because he's got that X factor, because he's capable of winning you the matches, you've got to understand that there will be days when he will not be at his best, either behind the stumps or in front of the stumps. But you've got to give him a little bit of allowance for that.
There was Rishabh, and there was at the start of the day another 21-year-old in Shubman Gill. I mean, how good is Shubman Gill? This constellation of these young talents, they seem to be oozing with self-confidence.
Well, he's very good. He's very, very good. No question about it. With the way he was treating some of the fastest bowlers in the world. And this is a very good attack. This is a very, very good attack. Probably the best attack in the world. In terms of the variation, it has got two right-hand bowlers, one left-hand fast bowler who can be pretty nasty, a world-class off-spinner. And therefore, to combat them the way he did, to play the shots that he did against them, just shows that he's got a big, big future ahead. The most important thing is for those in the media not to raise him to the skies. Because sometimes, when young people are raised to the sky, they lose their way. They think they know everything, and therefore they don't practice as hard and take things for granted. And in cricket particularly, you cannot take things for granted. You've got to constantly try to look to improve and get better at your game, learn from your mistakes. So that's one thing that we should be very, very careful about, not to raise these youngsters to the skies where they forget the virtues of good practice.
But what stands out for me, Mr. Gavaskar, is just all the youngsters or the first-time debutants who played in this series have all performed. whether it's in this match, Shardul Thakur and Washington Sundar, Mohammad Siraj, even Navdeep Saini, each of them in some way or the other, has performed. And you get a sense that they come into the test arena already ready to compete at the highest level. Is that the big difference in a way between the cricket in a way of the 60s and 70s with the cricket of today? Today's cricketers are much more ready for test cricket when they step into the big arena.
Yes, and yes, they are. And that's thanks to the 18 tours that the BCCI organizes, the under-23, under-21 tournaments that the BCCI has been organizing, the under-19 World Cups. BCCI doesn't get praise from a lot of quarters because they have their own reasons not for praising BCCI. But a lot of people forget this kind of work that the BCCI does in having these 8 tours. They have the Emerging Countries Tour, where a lot of these current players have got the experience of playing, and therefore they are ready for the next level, which is the test level. So I think that is been such an important aspect. Also the IPL, where a lot of these youngsters are rubbing shoulders with the best players in the world, and therefore that awe factor. Earlier on, if you saw an international player, there was this awe factor. Now that awe factor is gone because they're rubbing shoulders with the best in the change rooms of their franchises. They're training with them. They're spending evenings with them, and picking their brains, and therefore learning and improving their game. So I think all these factors are the reasons why today's cricketers are perhaps a lot ready for the next step than maybe of earlier generations.
How much of credit will you give Captain Ajinkya Rahane and indeed the backroom staff? I mean, Ajinkya Rahane taking over from Virat after the first test seems to be so calm, composed on the field. How much of credit do you give the leadership team of this Team India for this remarkable success?
But to the whole group, there's a leadership group which is the captain, and there is a support staff. All of them have played a huge role in rallying the team around after that test pistol for 36 in the first test in Adelaide. At that stage, everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, a lot of experts were talking about India losing 4-0. And look what the Indian team did. They just turned it around on its head. And of course, the captain would have had a huge role to play because he's such a calm person, he's a collected person, he's one of the boys. And I think all that made a big difference to the players rallying behind him and playing the way that they did.
And a bit of credit also to your old contemporary, Ravi Shastri, because, he comes in for a lot of flack, but it seems that defiant spirit that characterized Ravi's cricket when he played, he's passed it on to this generation, this never say die spirit.
Exactly. Ravi played cricket because he had enormous self-belief. And that's the kind of self-belief that is transferred to the team. His never say die spirit, his determination to do well, to excel, and his willingness to take up a challenge. Remember, Ravi started batting for India at number 10 or 11, and then he went on. By the time he finished his cricket, he was opening the batting for India. So it is that kind of spirit that this team has obviously benefited from, because Ravi would have had a thing or two to say to this team about how to get up after that dismissal for 36.
I have to ask you this. Did you expect Team India to recover from the loss in Adelaide? I know you predicted a week ago that we'd win at the Gabba, but when we lost at Adelaide and were bowled out for 36, did you really think that we could turn it around? The reason I ask you this is because one of the reasons why all of us are so delighted is just how remarkably we've turned this entire series around, and that is why this is so special.
I actually before the series started, I had predicted a 2-1 win the Indian team. But having said that, I was thinking of India maybe having a bit of trouble either at Adelaide or Brisbane, because Brisbane's been the fortress of the Australian cricket team for a while. But I was pretty confident of the Indian team doing well at both Melbourne and Sydney. Or whatever it was, the 2-1 win after that, shocker of what happened. And over there in Adelaide as well. But for that 1.5 hour where India got all out for 36, India had dominated the first 2 days of the Adelaide Test as well. So it wasn't as if India had been, swept aside in the Adelaide Test. It was just 5 or 6 very good deliveries that got the top batsmen out that made the difference in Adelaide. But otherwise, even in Adelaide, India had done well.
Are we therefore, Mr. Gavaskar, simply the best team in the world? Is it time to finally revel in the thought that India today is the best team in the world, where even after injuries, even after our captain returns home, the bench strength is good enough to defeat the mighty Australians on their home turf? Does that suggest that Indian cricket has never been stronger than it is today?
Yes. To be able to come back from the Adelaide disaster, to be able to beat Australia, in Australia, which not a lot of teams have done in the last 10, 15, 20 years, it's a huge achievement. And therefore, it's only fair to say that this Indian team is definitely the best team in the world.
In conclusion, Mr. Gavaskar, your moment of this series, your favorite moment, the moment that stood out, is there a moment that stood out for you where you felt that this team had turned around the series, or indeed on this final day, any moment that stood out for you?
The moment for me was when Cheteshwar Pujara took a blow on the hand, and he was in obvious pain, and he decided to take a little bit of treatment, obviously, but decided to carry on. Because that moment told you what the spirit of this Indian team was. Cheteshwar Pujara will not be celebrated as much as the Stokeless, Shubman Gill, Rishabh Pant, and the others. But if Cheteshwar Pujara had not been holding the fort from one end, and yes, people will criticize him for the slowness of his batting or whatever it is, he is the glue that holds this team batting together. Because he's at one end, the Stokeless can play their strokes freely at the other end. So for me, that moment when he picked himself up again and went on batting is the key moment of this particular test match.
In fact, Cheteshwar Pujara reminds me of the Sunil Gavaskar school of batsmanship. You all are the fixed deposits around whom all the hedge funds can bat with flair. Without the fixed deposit, you can't win a cricket match. So Pujara indeed is perhaps the great unsung hero, as indeed are so many others, the Ashwins, the Bumrahs, Ravi Jadejas, and many others. This was a true team effort. Mr. Gavaskar, as always, a pleasure talking to you. And once again, congratulations on getting your prediction of 2-1 exactly right.
Hello everyone, this is Rahul Kamal here. Hope you enjoyed this video. For the latest news and analysis, like and subscribe the India Today YouTube channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated.